Hey, good evening and greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, the old school patriot. Just want to thank you once again for taking a few minutes out of your busy schedules in your evening to allow me to share some thoughts, perspectives, and insights with you. As you can see back in the back, we've had a lot of the walls have been cleared off because we are going to be downsizing our home since Angela and I are now empty nesters. We'll be staying here in the North Texas area, in the Dallas area, so don't freak out, all my really good friends and others here in Texas and the surrounding states. We really enjoy being here. Angela's mom, as you know, she's in a senior living facility right here in Dallas. 3 of her 5 brothers are in the immediate area, so this is our home, and we're happy to be here. We're happy to be part of what I think is going to be an incredible renaissance or resurrection of liberty, freedom right here in the great state of Texas. And speaking of which, I just want to again say thank you for your support to this book that has just recently come out, Hold Texas, Hold the Nation, Victory or Death. It's doing quite well, and we're talking about another reprinting before the end of the year because it looks like Brown Books Publishing Group will be running out of them. So please go out, if you haven't, order Hold Texas, Hold the Nation, Victory or Death at Amazon. And I look forward to getting around and signing some books for you. As a matter of fact, speaking of getting around, this Saturday morning, I'll be down in Kemah, Texas, just south of the NASA there along the Galveston Bay. And I'll be running in the Disabled American Veterans 5K race Saturday morning. So if you're not doing anything, come on out. And it's a worthy cause. You know, it's sad that we have to have events like this to help us to raise awareness and raise funds for our disabled American veterans. And I think it's a good thing that we should do that. That kind of goes to show you that the government-run healthcare system taking care of our veterans has not been very successful. So why would we want to have Medicaid for everybody or Medicare for everyone? Then I will be coming back down to Houston on election eve. That's Monday, the 5th of November at Taste of Texas in Houston for a book signing from 4 to 7 p.m. And if you come in a little bit late, don't worry, I'll still hang out there at the Taste of Texas and we'll get those books signed for you. So Kemah, Texas, and I'll be down there along the Galveston Bay running in the Disabled American Veterans 5K this Saturday. And then Monday, November the 5th, I will be in Houston, Texas at Taste of Texas. And next week, for all my dear friends up there on Rocky Top and Big Orange Country, I will be back there in Knoxville for the University of Tennessee Army ROTC annual reunion, and there'll be the Tennessee-Kentucky football game. So I look forward to being back in my alma mater and seeing all the great folks there up on Rocky Top and hopefully cheering our Vols on to victory. Let's talk about some of the things that are going on right now. Without a doubt, this will be the last time I get a chance to talk with you before the very important midterm elections. And I want to just encourage all of our veterans that are out there, get out and vote. You know, we are the true 1%ers. We are truly the ones that put it all on the line. We were willing to make the last full measure of devotion, our service, our sacrifice and commitment to this great nation, our oath to the Constitution and the principles and values that make this incredible constitutional republic the longest running ever that the world has known. It's all because we have continued to produce guardians of this great republic. Well, we need you to make sure that you participate in this election cycle, in this midterm election cycle, because reviving and restoring our national security, as Ronald Reagan said, peace through strength, it only happens if we have a credible military deterrent. So between our Army, our Navy, our Air Force, Marines, and our Coast Guardsmen, we need to make sure that we are doing what is right by them. And that means us veterans, and also you guys and gals that are still out there in uniform, get out and cast your vote. Cast your vote to make sure that we continue to rebuild this incredible military that we have, because we know that you have a heart of a lion, but we got to make sure we resource you properly so that you can go out and do what you need to do. And let's talk about even more so these midterm elections that are coming up. Tomorrow, we're going to get the job numbers. Now, there may be a little bit of a decrease in expectations because remember, this past month, we had some pretty intense hurricanes that hit there back in the Carolinas, and then, of course, along the panhandles there in Florida up through South Georgia. But the important thing to understand is that our economy is on the right path. We are seeing a wage increase growth that we have not seen in the past 10 or so years. We're seeing consumer confidence that is up. We all know about the incredible record lows for our unemployment in the United States of America. The fact that we have more job positions that are opening in America than we have people to fill them, that's a great place to be. There's so many fantastic things that are going on for our economic growth and the vibrancy of that economy. So why would anyone want to cast a vote to make that go in a different direction? And that's really the whole purpose of the book that I wrote, Hold Texas, Hold the Nation, Victory or Death. When you look at all the great economic success, when you look at all the fantastic things that are happening here in the Lone Star State, when you hear people say we want to turn Texas blue, why would you want to turn Texas into any other color than what it is right now? The fact that it is a red state means it's a green state, means it's a prosperous state. That's why people are moving to the state of Texas. Businesses and corporations are relocating here. But why is it that we have this progressive socialist mentality that for whatever reason, they would prefer to have failure? They would prefer to have economic enslavement, economic dependency, instead of having individual economic independence, instead of having an incredible growth with small businesses and things of this nature. And so when you go to cast your vote, and hopefully some of you have already been out there in early voting, I've done it myself, but you got to make sure that you understand what you're voting for and what you're voting to prevent happening. Because when I think about some of the ways that this country could go based upon next week, Tuesday, think about where we could be when we're sitting down at our dinner tables next week. We can continue to believe that we're going to have vibrant economic growth. We can continue to, be on the path of having individual tax cuts maybe, because I don't think enough has been done there. We still have the 6 or 7 tax brackets. We still have a high tax bracket that goes up to almost 39%. I think that we need to do something on the individual side. I believe that 4 tax brackets starting at 10, going no higher than 25. I believe that we should make the individual subchapter S Corp small business tax rate the same as the corporate business tax rate, 21%. Think about what that will do for our economy even more so. But none of that's going to happen if the House of Representatives change hands. I don't believe the Senate will change hands. I think that the GOP will probably pick up maybe 4 or 5 Senate seats. But what happens when all of a sudden Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House? What happens when the Financial Services Committee is chaired by Maxine Waters, or the Oversight Committee is chaired by Elijah Cummings? Judiciary Committee is chaired by Gerald Nadler. The House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence chaired by Adam Schiff. The House Armed Services Committee chaired by Adam Smith out of the Seattle area. What happens to all the things that we have seen turning the corner, getting us going in the right direction over these past 2 years? When you think about, and look, once again, let's not talk about tweets. Let's not talk about the president's personality. Let's talk about the accomplishments. Let's talk about the fact that today, the President of the United States of America had a phone call with Xi Jinping, the dictator for life of China. It appears that they're feeling that pressure that we're putting on. And if we don't put the pressure on China, who has been cheating incredibly so since they were allowed entry into the World Trade Organization, they've been stealing our intellectual property. They've been forcing technology transfers. And this incredible economic growth that they have seen, they're turning into a military expansionist vision, which is the One Belt, One Road strategy, or the Chinese-Pakistan economic corridor. All of these things, building these man-made islands in the South China Sea and fortifying them with military preparations and weaponry and airfields. They are our #1 geostrategic foe. And the fact that now, all of a sudden, you have Xi Jinping's kind of calling, and maybe he kind of said uncle a little bit. I don't know how you say uncle in Chinese. Maybe someone will, tell me over there on the message board. But this is an incredible thing that is happening. We no longer have strategic patience. We no longer are leading from behind. We no longer hear people talking about, if you own a business, you didn't build that. But if you make the wrong decision and cast your vote, or don't cast your vote the wrong way, then that can come back in the House of Representatives. And always remember that the House of Representatives is where the purse strings are held. Now, true, you have to have, a 2/3 majority to get some of the shenanigans passed, like impeaching the president, or even more so absurd, impeaching Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And you still have President Trump in the White House. But why do we want to stymie the success that we've seen over the past 2 years? Now, I will tell you that I'm of a mindset that even if the Democrats do win the House of Representatives, it can be a strategic boost for constitutional conservatives because they will so overreach, they will so incense the American people because it won't be about economic empowerment. It won't be about all of the right policies that enable this country to be strong once again. It will only be about one thing. We hate Donald Trump and we have to destroy him. And so I think that what could happen if Nancy Pelosi gets the gavel is that we will be so repulsed by the progressive socialists in the House because they have to appease their base because of all the promises they made them. And sadly, many of the progressive socialists don't understand civics. So when the House of Representatives does not impeach Donald Trump, when he's not marched out of the White House doing the walk of shame, well, they'll be mad at them too, because they don't understand the three branches of government. They don't understand separation of powers. They don't understand, the relationship between the House and the Senate. It was just the same as when I was in the House of Representatives. We were passing all this great legislation, but Harry Reid was sitting over there and just throwing it in the floor file. Look, this is an important election. And for me, strategically, I want to make sure that President Trump gets reelected in 2020, because the most important thing for me is 2 or 3 more Supreme Court justices get nominated by President Donald Trump, not an Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or Kamala Harris or Cory Booker or any other cast of characters, or should I say cast of clowns, that will be running. Or maybe even Hillary Clinton will come back and try to resurrect her failed endeavors once again. But from a policy perspective, think about what happens if they try to repeal the tax cut law, because we all know that they would rather have universal basic income. They'd rather just give you money. They want to try to all of a sudden make a tax credit of free money. That's Senator Kamala Harris's idea. Think about what happens when all of a sudden, the House of Representatives starts to pass legislation under Nancy Pelosi's purview about abolishing ICE or keeping our borders open. What happens if all of a sudden Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez becomes a subcommittee chairman? Don't think that's not possible. I've seen stranger things up there in the House of Representatives. But also look at some of the other things that are happening. You folks in Georgia, my birth state, come on now. Stacey Abrams, give me a break. But, Oprah's out there stumping, and remember, it's the same Oprah Winfrey that said that Barack Obama was brilliant. He's brilliant. Yeah, he's brilliantly devious. If you haven't been paying attention, I wrote about it on theoldschoolpatriot.com today. Those 5 Taliban senior leaders that we gave back so that we could get a traitor by the name of Bo Bergdahl, those 5 Taliban leaders are now part of the Taliban political office in Qatar. Yeah, those 5 guys that the Qataris were supposed to keep them on some type of house arrest. They're right back out there coordinating political efforts, which means military efforts for the Taliban. And eventually, they'll be out of Qatar, and they'll be right back in Afghanistan. But also remember that Qatar does house the leadership of Hamas as well. And last week, Hamas was back to firing rockets and missiles from the Gaza Strip into southern Israel. Lest I digress. But do you want to go back to those type of policies that enable our enemies to feel strong? When was the last time you heard about ISIS? Isn't it very amazing to you that the media, the ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS, CNN, MSNBC, they don't talk about ISIS too much? Because we have a president that is taking care of things. But all of a sudden, if Adam Smith becomes the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, what do you think is going to happen with our military? We'll go back to the social engineering games of, gender dysphoria, all the other things that we saw from the Obama administration. This is an important midterm election. Medicare for all. Does anyone really understand what that means? A medical program, government-run medical program that was intended for our seniors is now going to be just for everybody. So what happens to our seniors? Well, healthcare is rationed and the decisions are made by the Independent Payment Advisory Board. This still does exist because it has not been repealed as part of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. Medicare for all means Medicare for no one. Ask yourself, how successful has the government been in running the Veterans Administration hospital system? And this is what they want to do. Now, of course, there'll be ads running if I decide to run for political office again that Allen West wants to cut Medicare. The only people that cut Medicare was Barack Obama and the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. The only people that threaten our seniors is the progressive socialist left. And we don't want to have Medicare for all. We don't want us to lose the ability to decide for ourselves our healthcare options. But that's exactly what happens if you allow these Bernie Sanders clones to all of a sudden occupy the United States House of Representatives. And the last thing that you have to be concerned about with this midterm election cycle, are you going to reward the mob? Are you going to allow the mobocrats to implement their mobocracy? Are you going to allow them to redefine what civility means? As former First Lady, former U.S. Senator, former Secretary of State, former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton said that when we're in power, when we're in control, then we can talk about civility. There's so much riding on this midterm election cycle. You got to get engaged. And remember the quote from Plato. One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you shall be governed by your inferiors. I don't think any of us want to see Nancy Pelosi with that gavel back in her hand, or some of the aforementioned people to be chairman of House committees. I'm not saying that the Republicans have been perfect, far from it. But let me tell you something. Perhaps they will finally find their big boy pants, kind of like what Lindsey Graham has found, because we've had many of them that have resigned and stepped down. And I think that was a good thing, kind of like having a controlled fire so that you can have new growth. New growth is what we want. New political growth, new economic growth, new growth for our military, and a restoration of the principles and values of this constitutional republic. And with that being said, let's go to your questions. Larna Sagoon, I voted red. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, Larna. Chad Evers down in South Georgia. Greeting, Chad. A lot of our family was brought up down in the Cuthbert, Georgia, Randolph County, Albany, Dougherty County, and Camilla. Camilla as well. And then also my mom was born in Fort Valley, Georgia, Peach County. And if you haven't been paying attention, my older brother is running for Congress down there in South Florida. So please give him a good look at, give him some consideration. He's running against Sanford Bishop. I know Sanford. He's a kind of do no harm kind of guy. But give my brother a look. He might be okay. He's a Marine, but he might still be okay. Okay, Mary Kraling, why are you not on TV anymore? Mary, I am on TV. If you go to the oldschoolpatriot.com, you'll see a lot of the clips. Mostly I'm on the Fox Business Channel now. As a matter of fact, I'm scheduled to be on with Neil Cavuto's show on Fox Business tomorrow, midday. And so we'll see if that comes through. But I was just on the evening edit with Elizabeth McDonald, and I believe I'm scheduled to be on Mornings with Maria next week, Monday. So check it out. We normally put the little notices out on our website, theoldschoolpatriot.com. But if you don't see it, you can still go to the website and you can catch the clips, to include radio interview clips as well. Robert Tallman, when will we be able to call you president? Why don't you run for office? Hey, that's a heavy lift, Robert, and that's one of those things we got to make sure that it's God's will and not just the will of people. And you got to have the resources to do that. So after this election cycle, we'll be praying. Angela and I will be thinking about some things. As he said, we're downsizing our home here in Dallas, Texas, because our girls are out and they're doing their own thing. And so we'll see where the Lord leads us and how I can continue to serve. But for right now, I just want to make sure I'm lending my voice especially for what we have coming up next week, Tuesday. That's very important. Sharon Lynn Radinoff. I had to use medical attention in the Shetland Islands. It was the worst medical care I ever had. Once again, I think that we have to understand when they talk about this government-run healthcare, Medicare for all, just look across the pond and the National Health Service there in England. Wrote a piece about that. I think it was about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. Maybe our website administrator, Marie Stroder, she'll re-release that piece that I wrote about the healthcare system and the wait times and the failures. Never forget Alfie Evans and Charlie Gard. Remember those 2 little babies? Once again, you didn't hear a lot of people on the liberal progressive media talking about it, but those 2 little babies were denied medical care by bureaucrats. Imagine living in a system where bureaucrats tell you what you can and can't do for your own child's health care, or even your parents' health care, or maybe even your health care. In the past couple of years, we've experienced some pretty interesting and serious healthcare scares in the West Family House. Right up here, man. There's my pacemaker. 6 sinus syndrome. My heart rate was dropping down into the 20s at night. Doctor didn't even understand how I was still alive. And so my getting this pacemaker put in did not have to go through some bureaucrats who would determine whether or not, Wes, maybe you should stop running and working out so much. Maybe that's putting too much of a stress. But anyhow, you're going to have to wait 6 months, 7 months for you to get that pacemaker put in. Or even my wife, Angela, who went in for a routine medical checkup. Something didn't look right. Come to find out she had a brain aneurysm. They got her into the hospital immediately, and the next day she was operated on. The aneurysm's gone. Well, Ms. West, here's some Motrin, some Tylenol. Come back and see us in about 5 or 6 months. I don't want Medicare for all. I don't want the government making decisions about anyone's health care. You shouldn't either. Okay, Susie Ellis Shepherd. Hi there from Vidalia, Georgia. And it's the correct pronunciation, Vidalia, home of Vidalia onions. Those sweet, delicious onions. Really good when you're cooking up some steak or, shall I say it, pork chops. Yeah, there's nothing better than some pork chops with some grits and eggs in the morning. That's one of my dad's favorite things. But greetings to everyone down in Vidalia, Georgia. Liz Busby, hello from Alabama. Please run for office. Liz, even though I'm a Tennessee volunteer, and I'm sure you root for Crimson Tide, I still love you. Thank you. Next time, don't score 4 touchdowns on us in the first quarter. Maybe just 2. Give us a fighting chance. But anyhow, you folks down in Alabama, you got an important decision coming up pretty soon about this Doug Jones guy. Don't blow another Senate race, please. Okay? All right. Ed Murdoch, how can we turn New Jersey red and get our state back? Well, one of the important things is when you look at the urban centers, we've got to break off these 21st century economic plantations that the left has created. And that means taking our message into these inner city communities. Let's talk about principles. Let's talk about values. I think that you might have a chance with this Senate race and sending Senator Bob Menendez home. If so, that'd be a great pickup. So get out there in New Jersey and vote, because think about this. There's so many people that are fleeing New Jersey and they're going down 95, and a lot of them are bringing the same failed political ideologies with them to states like North Carolina and South Carolina, Georgia, and even into Florida. The greatest export of the left is progressive socialism. We're facing it here in Texas. That's why I wrote the book, Hold Texas, Hold the Nation. People are leaving failing blue states, and they still want to bring a failed ideology to a new location. I call that the locust effect. Stephanie Maxwell Norris, Rocky Top. All right, Stephanie, I'll see you up there on Rocky Top next week for the Kentucky game. Georgiana Ortega, Colonel West, your words linger in my mind. You're the wisdom I use when I cast my vote. Hey, look, that really touches my heart. You're very kind. Patrick Dola, hello from Fort Worth. I'm now craving Carmine's Pizza. Hey, man, let me tell you something. Best pizza out there. Best Italian restaurant out there. Carmine's Pizza It is located Spring Valley and Noel, between Noel and I think it's Montfort, right on Spring Valley Road there in North Dallas. I love those people there. Hey, for Donna, if you're listening and watching, they're great folks. And you know what is good about the folks there at Carmine's Pizza? They came here to America from Bosnia. They came here to America with nothing. And they built a business. And they own that business. It's theirs with their own sweat equity. See, that's what America is about. It is about understanding no matter where you're born, no matter where you come from, if you got drive and determination within you, you can have whatever success you want. But see, that's not the mentality of the progressive socialist left. When Barack Obama and all these other folks are talking about, yes, we can, they weren't talking about you as an individual. They're talking about collectives. They're really talking about, yes, we can government. And think about it. That's what you hear with all of what they're saying. Universal basic income. They just want to be able to give you money. They don't want to see, the right type of tax, regulatory, fiscal policies that enable you to grow businesses and be able to take care of yourself and your family. Medicare for all. They don't want you to be able to, earn and be able to go out and make your own decisions for your health care. They want to control everything. They have to do that. And it upsets them when you act within your own individual rights and freedoms. Kind of like with the Second Amendment. They really want that to go away. Because as long as we can be armed, we're citizens. If they ever disarm us, we're subjects. All right. Debbie Richter Ladd. Hi from Southern California. I'm one of the few Republicans still here. Debbie, I was just out there, and there are quite a few conservatives out in Southern California, but let me tell you something. The Democrat Party is so banking on picking up 3 or 4 congressional seats out in California. If they don't pick up those 3 or 4 congressional seats out in Southern California, they don't get the House. Get out and vote there in Orange County. Get out there and make a difference. Get out there and vote in Central Valley and make a difference. Do not let Los Angeles, San Francisco, and all of these major urban elitist centers there in California dictate what used to be an incredibly great conservative state. Remember Ronald Reagan was once a governor of California? What happened? You see, that's why this book's important, because it does that factual analysis of Texas and California. And just the same as California once produced Ronald Reagan as a governor, and now it's got Jerry Brown. 20 years from now, do we want to say the same thing about Texas? I don't. All right. Maureen Lavrette Rowland, what do you think is causing this extreme left-wing movement? What is causing the extreme left-wing movement is that we don't have a system of education in America. We have a system of indoctrination. Now, I'm talking about getting out and voting next week, Tuesday, in this midterm election cycle. But as I always say, the most important elected position in the United States of America, school board. Yet the election that has the least amount of voter turnout, school board. And then you ask yourself, what's happening? It's because we're not teaching civics. We're not teaching history. We're not teaching objective truth. We're teaching an ideological agenda. We're indoctrinating our kids, starting now down in middle school level, going all the way into college and university campus, and you know that. Remember, in September, the Texas State Board of Education had to have a special emergency hearing because some chuckleheads wanted to take out the reference of heroic when they were thinking of the defenders of the Alamo in 7th grade history books. That's how you lose a place like Texas. That's how you lose a nation. So that's why we have this far left movement. It's because we have a system of indoctrination, not a system of education. John Cole, love you, Colonel West. Thank you. When will you come to Pittsburgh? Hey, guess what? My daughter is not too far away from Pittsburgh, and we'll be up there in Wheeling, West Virginia for Thanksgiving. My wife, Angela, and I, we'll be spending time with her. And so we may just take a little trip up there to Pittsburgh and hang out, and may see you down there at Primanti Brothers downtown or something like that. So be on the lookout. You see the black guy with the little round rim glasses and salt and pepper flat top. It's me. I'll be hanging out with y'all. Hopefully it won't be too cold. But I'm looking forward to having Thanksgiving in West Virginia. Durant, Oklahoma, Lavelle Gomez. Absolutely. You're just right up the road. I was up there in Durant for the dedication of the Commercial Metals Corporation. Incredibly new factory there, because our steel production and manufacturing is coming back, and it was great to be up there when they had the ribbon cutting in Durant. So thank you so much. Let's see, Gina Jirach Stanley, what do you think is going to happen at the border? They're not getting in. That's what's going to happen at the border. And I think that this is a very important part in the life cycle of this country that we call America. We have a sovereign border. It has to be protected. And we need to make sure that people understand that you don't just get to invade the United States of America because you want a better job. As a matter of fact, when I look at this migrant mass of individuals that are coming toward the United States of America, I see a lot of single military-age males. You're not coming in here. You're going back home. Because what you need to do is go back home and make things better in your own country. That's where it starts first and foremost. And this is a dedicated effort to undermine the sovereignty of the United States of America. This is a well-funded movement, a well-funded operation. And I think President Trump has the right stand to say, we're going to turn you around. No more of this catch and release. We're not allowing you to go out into, our society. We cannot have any, as the left likes to say, comprehensive immigration reform until we seal our border. And a border security wall is an important part of that. So that all of those respective avenues of approach that drug cartels, terrorists use to infiltrate into the United States of America, we got to be able to pin that down and thwart their efforts. And that's why it's so important to have this border security wall. That's why immigration is so important. If we don't get our border secured, we don't have a country. And that's an important issue. Let's see. Carrie Rossignol, an outstanding American. Yes, you are. Diane Masterson Besteder from Philly. Hey, greetings. Thanks a lot. And you guys, if there's any place to be standing for liberty and freedom, it should be the folks up there in Philadelphia. And you guys got to make sure you stop that spread of this progressive socialism that is coming out of Philadelphia into the surrounding suburbs there. Okay. Sharon Huffman, Buckeye State. Hi, Colonel West. Oh, man, you're very kind. I appreciate your words there. It's very humbling. Rick Black from California, praise Reagan, but you elected Arnold. Okay. Well, Arnold just kind of showed up at the right time at the right moment. Sharon Fryer, Jerry Brown is going down. Gavin too. I really hope so. This California will continue to vote Republican. That's the spirit, Sharon. You got to fight no matter where you are. That's one of the great things about paratroopers. Paratroopers jump in behind enemy lines, and they cause disruption and confusion. That's what you guys need to be doing. But remember what I said. There are 3 to 4 congressional seats that are, especially down in the Southern California area. Don't allow the left to win them. Get out there. I'm telling you, don't allow them to win it, because if they don't win those seats, we can block Nancy Pelosi from being the Speaker of the House and Maxine Waters from being the Chairman of the House Financial Services Committee. All right, a couple more questions. Anna Eller, hello from China Grove, North Carolina. All right, Tar Heel State. Wondering if your book was being sold in stores like Barnes & Noble or just online. Yes, Barnes & Noble, they do have Hold Texas, Hold the Nation. If they don't have them there at your Barnes & Noble bookstore close to you, they can order it, or you can do it and go through Amazon as well. James Aban, Ohio loves you, Mr. West. Thank you so very much. I don't know if you Buckeyes like us SEC guys, but thanks. Willie Varian, West Virginia is my home. Well, I'm looking forward to being up there in almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Country road, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home country road. So I see you mountaineers up there. Last question. Robinson Bento de Oliveira from the state of Amazonas, Brazil. Hey, Robinson, congratulations, okay, on this incredible election that you guys just had. You have elected a guy that's going to turn your country around and make Brazil great again. I look forward to the efforts of your new president, and I look forward to better relations between the United States of America and Brazil. I know that there are many problems down there. Venezuela is an issue, and some of the other surrounding countries, and also be very leery of the tri-state area where Iran has been successful in establishing a Hezbollah operation down there in South America. So we look forward to better partnerships with Brazil. So thank you very much. William Petraglia, hey man, Candace Owens is an extremely knowledgeable and very educated woman trying to wake up the African-American Democrats to let them know they're being used by the left. Yeah, I mean, this Brexit thing that is going on, and you know, I'll be very honest. President Trump took a lot of heat when he said, "What have you got to lose?" But he was absolutely right. And the dirty little secret that no one wants to talk about, President Trump has an approval rating in the black community somewhere between 21% and 36%. People are turning off Al Sharpton. That's a good thing, because when you look at the black community, how it's been decimated by the progressive socialist left ever since Lyndon Johnson, his Great Society programs, his so-called war on poverty, all he's done is decimated the family. And as I said, created an inner city 21st century economic plantation. Donald Trump is bringing economic empowerment back to the black community. And that is so very important. It's not about this economic slavery that we see. It's about economic independence. All right, final question, and then I will let you go. Manning Mahaffey was watching the president. Hello, sir. We need the House, sir. President's play on Federal Reserve is overdue. Legislation will stop if they win the House, but growth will continue. I pray so. Salem, Oregon, what difference will 5,000 unarmed troops make at the border? Darren, just remember that those 5,000 quote-unquote unarmed troops enable more of our border patrol to be closer on that border and to be right front. Posse Comitatus does not allow for our military men and women to be able to engage with arms at the border. Just the same with disaster relief or humanitarian relief, or any of the things post. Remember Hurricane Katrina. So they're there to back them up. That's a good thing. The United States Northern Command has all the contingency plans for this. But always remember, there's a thing called JTF North that operates down along the border. It's there for anti-terrorism and counter-drug operations. So if there's any shenanigans, we're covered. So the president's got this thing covered down, and we'll be ready. There will not be any storming of our border like you saw at the Guatemala-Mexican border. But look, folks, thanks so very much for taking time to be with me on this Thursday night for another Facebook Live event. Next time I talk to you, we will know what has happened as a result of these midterm elections of 2018. It will set the stage for the next 2 years going into the presidential re-election for Donald Trump in 2020. This is critical. It's important. You don't want your kids to believe that you failed them in this moment and in this hour. And again, when you listen to the rhetoric, when you listen to all of the things that the other side wants to do, tell me anything that they want to do that's about improving your quality of life and your standard of living. It's not. It's about revenge, as Maxine Waters said. Now, we can allow them to yell and scream at us and try to threaten and coerce and intimidate us by surrendering to them, or we can stand and we can cast our votes and we can disappoint them once again. How many of you on next Tuesday night would like to see a speechless Rachel Maddow and hear that George Soros was crying? That's two pretty good images that I'd like to see. God bless you all, steadfast and loyal. And for all my buddies out there in the 4th Infantry Division, out there in Fort Carson, Colorado, deep strike, go get them.